This is Kenny with another edition of the Yak with MAC. Welcome back. I just sold a lot of iPhones this weekend, and I just finished that huge project. Now what? What comes next? Well, we'll talk about preventing the letdown. Listen in. Hey there, everybody. This is Kenny. This is another edition of the Yak with Mac riding solo. Welcome back. Hope all is going well. Hope you've had a great week. I want to talk about a couple of things today. And actually, the main thing I want to talk about, it might be geared towards if you are in sales, but I think this can go for any group. I know our audience is pretty vast. We have folks from care, from all different departments that watch. And so, but I'm going to specifically talk about iPhone launch, right? But I'm going to talk about how, as a leader, you can prevent those letdowns because I've seen that so much over the years where you just ride this high for a little bit and then the team kind of stops. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Back in 2007, I love this time of year. This is the baseball playoff time of year. Crunch time. My Mets are not going to be in it, but that's okay. Wait till next year, I hope. But I can remember in 2007, the Colorado Rockies, they ended the season on such a streak and they swept through the playoffs. They won from around mid-September through the first two rounds of the playoffs. They won 22 straight games. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so before they knew it, they found themselves in the World Series. But that was the same year that the Red Sox was in a long series in the American League, and they had to wait. They had to wait 9 days from the time that they had finished off their playoff series. They had to, I believe they beat the Braves. They had to wait 9 days until they started the World Series against the Red Sox. It was one heck of a letdown. The momentum was gone. The leaders on the team were great leaders, but they didn't know how to bring that momentum back. They didn't know what was next. How could they keep their team on this high for 9 days, knowing that they were in the World Series? It was almost like, okay, we did our job and now we're good. But no, they didn't do their job. They had to play one more series to win the championship. And so what happened? The Red Sox get into the World Series against the Rockies, and they sweep the Rockies. The Red Sox do. 4 games to nothing. And the Rockies were just flat. They didn't score hardly any runs throughout that series. So this is the same team that won 22 games in a row to get to the World Series. And then they get to the World Series and there's this big letdown. So, leaders, how do you prevent that letdown? You see, you just sold a lot of iPhones. Now what? What's your next step? I want to give you a few practical tips, and I'm speaking from experience here. Now, it was great to get a peek at some of the numbers that we saw coming out of this weekend, man. Old school's coming back, right? Because iPhone launch used to be like Christmas, Thanksgiving, any other holiday you could name all in one for us. I mean, it used to be not only one heck of a day, it was usually one heck of a weekend, that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But here's what I remember clearly. I can remember going in my stores, and I'm talking about my role as a district manager back in the day. I can remember going back into my stores, and man, that Monday, there was no spark. There was no energy. We wasn't selling anything. It was just, everyone was just so worn out. And so that got me to thinking, and I course corrected the next year. I wanted my leaders to make sure that they were aware of that and that they adjusted things on the schedule. So if someone worked these double shifts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, man, give them Monday off. Let them take a day or two to breathe and to get their energy back. You as the manager, I always advise, take that Monday off. Take that Tuesday off. You're tired, man. Go and get refreshed so that you can go back and attack it. So let me give some other tips when it comes to preventing the letdown. You got to first realize that everybody's human. I know when we build up and do these spectacular things, and again, there can be projects that you've worked on in a group at headquarters projects that you might be working on in care, and they build and they build, and then you finally launch it, man, and it goes great. Now what? What's the next step, right? We put all this energy in, and all our energy is zapped. So we've got to really, really be careful. So I said the first tip, give yourself a day or two off right after. Be able to take a step back, be able to do some things that you like to do, get away from the business. As leaders, though, you have to really look at your people, particularly your key people. If you had some folks that helped you launch, or again, if you're in the retail space and you have folks that worked a double shift Friday, double shift Saturday, double shift Sunday, let them breathe. Let them take a couple of days off. You have to, as a leader, in those next days off, find what the next challenge is. It was always ideal for me because I would always come up with a contest. There was enough contests and incentives out there on iPhone weekend, but what about after? So my incentive would be for that next weekend. I would always have some sort of goofy contest, and my team was great at that. We'd do an accessory contest or something like that, and we'd always see great results. And that would be just that little spark, coming back sooner rather than later. And so I would advise you to come up with some sort of challenge. It doesn't necessarily have to be a contest, but maybe there's some sort of challenge that you have for your team after this big, weekend that we sold a lot of iPhones, or if you're not selling a lot of iPhones, if you're in another department, as soon as after you've launched something, right? Give it a day or two and then come up, what's the next challenge so that folks are refocused back. Have really great, here's my third hint and tip, is have really great one-on-ones right after. Have really great one-on-ones right after. Recap how that weekend was. We're running around like crazy. We really don't have a time to breathe, but there were definitely some things that we might have missed despite the numbers being great. They could have maybe been better. Maybe we could have executed something a little bit better. There are so many little things that we could have missed, and you might have missed it because you're running around as a leader like crazy on either an iPhone launch or if it's some sort of other launch. So get with your people right after, have one-on-ones after you've given them a couple of days off. Recap how that launch went. What could we have done better? What are some things that we need to bring back to headquarters to make sure we have more resources, whatever. But make sure you're bringing back that focus. Focus in on execution as you have those one-on-ones. Get people's minds thinking right, because here we are now. We're only a couple of days away from fourth quarter. So those same lessons of execution on busy iPhone weekend, talking retail now, on busy iPhone weekend will probably be a lot of the same principles that you'll want to use those last 2 weeks in December or Black Friday weekend. So talk specifically about execution. What went well? What didn't go well? Here's my last piece of advice on I sold a lot of iPhones. What next? And that's, don't beat yourself up. We're all human. It is normal to have that letdown. Now, I use the Rockies as an example. I know I've got a lot of St. Louis Cardinal fans out there that listen. Cardinals are really, there's fans all over the country for the St. Louis Cardinals. They were the only team west of the Mississippi for a long time. However, the Cardinals have now won 16 straight. I'm going to really be fascinated to see what they do in the playoffs, because the playoffs is still a week away. Can they continue that momentum, or do they lose a game and then there's a letdown, and then they get in the playoffs and then there's a letdown? They played so hard to get here, and to win 16 games in September, that's just spectacular. I suspect the Cardinals, though, because they're always managed so well, they probably won't have a letdown. They'll probably continue on and have some great momentum, and might even take them to the World Series or back to the World Series. It's been a while for them. So, but it is overall very normal to have that letdown. So don't beat yourself up about that. But I got to tell you, leaders, it falls on you. It fell on me. When I saw that there was a letdown after that first iPhone launch that I had, which I believe was 2011 or 2012, that was on me, man. I didn't see it coming. And that's okay. I learned my lesson that 1 year, but I took those lessons actually right into the Black Friday weekend, as well as Christmas time. Remember, after Black Friday weekend, there's no worse Monday after Black Friday weekend. And so that was my time. Hey, take some days off. Hey, on Wednesday, we regroup. We get some contests going, and we're going to follow that up with a phenomenal weekend this next weekend. You can do the same in any group across the country. Don't allow yourself to have that letdown. Don't allow your team to have that letdown. Okay, I can't believe we're at the end of September. So this has been Kenny. This has been another edition of the Yak with Mac. I have got at least two unbelievable guests coming up for you that are going to really encourage and inspire you to become great influencers in the month of October. Two locked in guests that happen to be on vacation. So I won't be talking to them for another week and then another 2 weeks. But I can't wait for you to hear the knowledge that they have to drop on us and on you. So for now, this is Kenny with another edition of the Yak with Mac. We will talk to you next week.